Hello, everybody. Really quick, wanted to do this. What prompted me wanting to do this video was actually I was looking at a news broadcast about something that's going on, and I'm gonna get to that in just a second. But I want to share something. Um, I think a lot of us, I think for the most part, all of us know at least one person who feels like I don't watch the news because it's depressing, and while I can relate because I used to have that same type of mindset. I don't think in today's age that that's the smartest thing. That's the smartest type of mindset to have. Um, we are living in times where there's so much going on. And I just don't think it's the smartest thing to just be ignorant because you don't want to see depressing news stories. Okay, so the story that I was looking at was actually about Hawaii. So if you paid any attention to the news, you know, a couple of months ago, I think it's by now it's at least a couple of months ago, and today's August 22nd. So a couple of months ago, the volcano that's on the Big Island actually reactivated somehow, and it erupted and started to spew all kinds of lava. People had to be evacuated off the island. And so a couple of weeks ago, I actually heard where people were talking about, or I think it was a news story about that a hurricane was headed that way, and I hadn't heard anything else about it, so I thought that it was no longer a danger until today. I saw a news story that was showing that the hurricane is like miles off the coast of Hawaii, and what was unprecedented for me was that it's a Category 5. And if you saw the size of this hurricane in comparison to the size of the islands, you realize it's huge. And then something else that I heard about the hurricane was that a hurricane had not hit Hawaii in like 3 decades. So I'm 35. So that means the last time a hurricane hit the island, like I was either not born or I was a very small child. So I think the thing, when I hear stories, especially about natural disasters, and it's something unprecedented like that, I think it's noteworthy. It's worth paying attention to. It's like, when you watch the news, kind of keywords that kind of stick out to me are like, if they say records are being broken, or people being interviewed and they're like, I've been living here all my life and I've never seen anything like this. And they look like they're about in their 50s or 60s or, even in their 40s. It's like, those types of things you need to pay attention to, because it's like something is going on, and we shouldn't depend on other people for our news. We should be definitely doing our own research. If you're weary about watching the local news, because a lot of it is depressing, a lot of it is, shootings and robberies and all this type of things. And while I think a lot of them do try to, put up, positive stories, the negative ones definitely overshadow. So, but there are different ways of getting your news. You don't necessarily even have to go national, because I think a lot of the national is so political and it's so divided right now. And it's so biased that you don't know what's real. You don't know what's the agenda behind why I'm hearing this news story the way I'm hearing it. But there are international news outlets. There are independent news outlets that you can look for online. I know YouTube. There are a lot of YouTubers who are, that's all they do is share news stories, and they do it in an unbiased manner. They present it, where they're telling you what's going on. And they may share their opinion about it, but they're sharing the video of what happened. And, it's like a open forum where you can kind of share your ideas of how you felt about the news story. So there are definitely different ways of getting your news. You don't have to look at your local news to get all your news. I say all that to say that I don't think it's smart to not pay attention to what's going on in the world, because there's too much going on in the world. If you understand biblical prophecy, if you understand Revelation, then you know that there are certain things that must happen before the return of Christ. But if you don't know what's going on, then how do you know if we're close? I mean, and we've heard this all our lives, that we're living in the last days. Honestly, at this point, I think we're living in our last minutes, even our last seconds. And it's definitely, it's like the story of It's like the story of the 10 virgins. Like 5 of them had oil and 5 of them didn't have oil. And the 5 who didn't have enough oil, they wanted to go ask the ones who had enough oil, can we have some of y'all's? And they were like, no, you got to go get your own. And so the other 5 who weren't prepared, they left to go get their oil. And the bridegroom who represents Christ came while they were gone, and they missed him. So it's definitely beneficial to be prepared, physically to be prepared, to stock up on water, to stock up on dry foods. And I'm talking to myself too. I've started to stock up on water, but I definitely need to get the dry foods and stuff that takes a long time to go bad, because I truly believe that there is something coming this way that is going to affect America. And even if we're not here when it happens, we should be proactive. We should definitely be proactive into making sure that we can take care of our families if something does happen. Also, and not just being physically prepared, but being spiritually prepared. The story of the virgins, the 10 virgins, is a testament of it. Even though it's coming from, it is a parable, but it's coming from it sounds like it's coming from a physical, but it's actually spiritual. Spiritually, we need to be prepared. So that means we need to be getting ourselves in order. We need to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do. That we're not out there living however we want to live. That we're not out there doing whatever we want to do. That we are keeping our lamps trimmed and burning. Because when Christ comes, it's too late. It's too late to be saying, oh, you don't want to be the people that is talked about in Revelation when Christ comes on his horse, on his white horse, that they're mourning. You don't want to be a part of the crowd that's mourning. You want to be a part of the crowd that's rejoicing because you see your salvation. So we need to make sure that we prepare. We need to, and I think a lot of people depend on like the social media outlets like Facebook and Instagram and all these type of apps and all that to get their news. But it's kind of like, and I love to use examples, so you're gonna hear me tell stories that kind of correlate with what I'm talking about. But it's like when you have a row of people and you have the first person whisper all the way down the row. By the time it gets to the last person, it's a completely different story. So that's one reason why we don't need to be dependent on these type of social media outlets, because people share, people crop, people trim videos, and when you have those sorts of things happening, you don't really get the full story. You don't get the full magnitude of what's going on. And for the most part, I do think Facebook is a distraction from from it definitely can be a distraction and put a wedge between you and the Most High. And that's one of the things that I wanted to, the reason why I pulled away from Facebook so much. I used to be on there a lot, and it's a time stealer. And it's a distraction. And if you get caught up in it, you spend too much time on it, it will rob you of your time. And definitely robbed you of your time with the Most High, the time that you can be studying, time that you can be reading, time that you can be in prayer, to be able to make sure that you can hear from the Most High without having those types of distractions. So definitely we need to be paying attention. We need to be looking at the news. However you get your news, you need to be looking at the news and trying to see what's going on. It's like when I first came into this truth, I did not know that a lot of biblical prophecy had already been fulfilled in 70 AD. Because I didn't even know 70 AD had happened. You know, the fall of Jerusalem by the Roman army. I didn't know that happened. And I think that's the case for a lot of Christians who believe that a lot of prophecy is yet to be fulfilled, not realizing that a lot of prophecy has already been fulfilled. When we depend on somebody else to tell us something instead of doing our own research, then we're deceived. But it's your fault because you're not doing your own due diligence by studying yourself to try to figure out what's going on, and you're depending on somebody else to do it. So definitely we need to pull away from, a lot of things. Definitely we need to do our research about what's going on. Definitely we need to be watching the news. We need to be doing your research in other kind of news outlets to see what's going on. So that's it. I'm not going to keep running on and on and on, but that's definitely it. I mean, that's it. So definitely do your research and try to see what's going on in the world and try to prepare. Okay? Prepare. Okay, so that's it, y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.